All right, everyone. So I have 10 a.m. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the 2021 ASU Data Conference coordinated by the ASU University Technology Office. My name is Elizabeth and I'll be your Zoom host. My role at Arizona State University is the Director of Data Solutions. So I also lead our data analysis and visualization chapter in UTO. So get to work with lots of folks who are really amazing data visualization professionals every day. Remember to stay connected throughout the conference and continue the conversation in our Slack channel, the ASU Data Community. With that, we are going to start our recording. Oh, and it looks like we are all set up and recording. So please welcome our presenter, Rebecca, today.
All right, good morning. All right. All right. Can everyone see my screen here? Oh, I can't see anyone.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so this presentation is enrollment tracking, a brief overview. My name is Rebecca Berkowitz. I'm from Registrar Technology Services. And this presentation is intended for data citizens. And just to review, a data citizen is when your level is that you use pre-made data that's prepared ahead of time or on demand and can also be delivered. Okay, what is enrollment tracking? So enrollment tracking is a series of aggregated reports that summarize enrollment totals by common groupings. We've got comparison reports and reports for just the current term. There is a Tableau chart, and there are also links to the various reports. I did want to note that the enrollment tracking reports are different from census reports. If you're interested in census data, you'll want to refer to the Institutional Analysis Reporting Student Data Group on Analytics. The enrollment reports and enrollment tracking reports are accessible to staff with FERPA training who have access to student information in either PeopleSoft or Data Warehouse. So note that the enrollment tracking reports are in the Enrollment and Records group in Analytics. If you don't have access to this group already, and you meet the criteria in the last bullet point on this slide here, instructions will be given a little later on in this presentation for how to request access. And I did want to note, we will have some time at the end for questions. You can go ahead and put your questions in the chat, but since it's such a short time slot, we're going to go ahead and take questions at the end. All right. So how to get to the enrollment tracking reports. So you're going to start from the analytics website, which is analytics.asu.edu. And Elizabeth, if you wouldn't mind putting that link in the chat, that's link number 1, that would be great. So once you're on the analytics website and you've signed in, you'll go ahead and click on groups. And then from there, you will select my groups. And then you'll scroll down until you find enrollment and records. And feel free to follow along if you'd like as I go through the presentation. It will be available for download after the conference though, as well. And once you've clicked on the enrollment and records pages, you'll then click on the enrollment tracking link. All right, and I did want to note that if you don't see enrollment and records in my groups, you can click on all groups in the groups section, and then you can request access when you get to this page. So if you get to the page and you don't have access, these are the instructions here to request access. So you'll start with this reporting data access request form here. If you do already have access, you can start with this page here. You can also use the reports or pages links above. So this is the enrollment tracking page. And Elizabeth, if you wouldn't mind putting the direct link to it in the chat, that way in case folks would like to bookmark it. Let's see. Thank you. So these are aggregated reports that summarize the enrollment totals by some common groupings. So reports in the first two sections here for the comparison and current reports are aggregated totals based on the campus, college, or department of the student's primary record. So students with concurrent degrees, for example, are only counted once based on their primary record. The comparison reports compare totals in like terms for the current year to the year prior based on today's snapshot. And like terms means we're comparing fall to fall or spring to spring or summer to summer. And snapshot data is frozen data and is taken either daily or weekly, depending on the year, the term, and the number of days before or after the first day of classes for a term. While the data is looking at frozen data for the prior year, I did want to note that it doesn't time travel. It's always as of today's snapshot compared to the same snapshot day or week from the year before. The current reports will provide enrollment data as of today, and they provide a simplified view of the current enrollment data. So depending on whether they are comparison or current, the reports can be run either daily or weekly. So the current reports may be run daily. The comparison reports, they can be run weekly or daily, depending on whether or not daily snapshots are available for the terms at that point in time. So right now, daily snapshots start when open enrollment begins, and they end after the session B 21st day. For example, for the fall terms, the snapshots have switched from daily to weekly because we're after the session B 21st day. And on the other hand, spring snapshots are still weekly until open enrollment begins on November 19th. And then the class funding reports provide data based on the classes the students are enrolled in. So for example, the totals by campus are based on the funding campus of the class and not the campus of the student's major. I did want to note, if you were following along and you navigated to the previous page, it might have looked like this when you first got to it. So instead of seeing that chart that was on the previous page. So if that does happen, you'll click the sign in to ABOR BI and then select right here. And then you'll be redirected back to the enrollment tracking page with that lovely Tableau chart now showing. Okay, so to view any of the reports, you'll click on the link for the report you want to review. So this here is the student enrollment by campus term comparison quick view. And it's labeled quick because it doesn't have any parameters, so it runs a bit faster than the other reports with parameters. So this will display either fall or spring, whichever term is latest and that has an open enrollment date in the past. The new term will not display during enrollment appointments, only after enrollment appointments begin. So as of the time of this presentation, which is November 15th, open enrollment has not started yet for spring 2022, which is why we only see fall 2020 and fall 2021 parameters, even as of today. Once open enrollment begins for spring, the parameters for this quick view report will switch to spring instead of fall. Note, I wanted to bring your attention to the enrollment data as of date here at the top. If it shows the current date, which it should today, you're good to go. So this picture here was from November 2nd, but if you're following along, hopefully it should say November 15th. If it doesn't show today's date, one of two things are going on. If you're looking at a comparison report and it's before open enrollment and it's a term before summer 22, then we're still only taking weekly snapshots. If it's after open enrollment and it's a comparison report, it means that the data set behind these reports have not been updated yet. We do monitor the data sets on a daily basis, so you can always reach out to us at urtech@asu.edu if you have concerns, and I believe that link is in the chat as well. If it's a current report and it's not showing today's date, then the data set has not been updated and most likely we're already working on it behind the scenes. So do check back later and it should be updated. But again, if not, if you have any concerns, feel free to reach out to us. And then to learn more about any of these reports, you can click on the View Details dropdown right here. Okay, we're going to take a closer look at the view details and what information is contained in there. So some areas I've highlighted here. The short description should help you determine if this report will provide the data you need. Again, the RegTech contact email is here. So if you have any questions about the data, you can always reach out to us. The additional info section will have notes that are helpful, so please read them. The variable parameters section has some important information about how to use the parameters, and we'll look at those parameters next. Then the fixed parameters will also provide more details about how the data is filtered. And then if you're interested in more of the behind the scenes aspect, the technical detail has the table and field information as well as some other facts about the report. Okay, now we're going to look at running the reports. So this here is an example of we're using the student enrollment by campus term comparison as an example here. You'll notice that default parameters have already been selected for you. And so the report will process immediately when you click on the link. However, you can click on cancel down here to stop the processing of the default report and select your own parameters. When you're selecting the parameters, make sure you're going to be working from left to right and then starting at the top and moving down from there. Some parameters do have dependencies on previous parameters, and they'll only display the values based on those previously selected parameters. So each parameter will load once the one before it has been chosen. And this is known as cascading parameters because the cascading will actually allow for smaller choices as you go so that your results get narrowed down. If a dropdown does come out blank, just wait for it to load. You must select something in every dropdown for the report to run. And when you're done selecting your parameters, then click on View Reports. So we're going to take a closer look at some of those parameters. These parameters here are the term and session parameters. The term parameters will have values available for those currently enrolling and active comparison terms, or just the current terms, depending on the report you've selected. Then the session parameter will filter to students enrolled in the session selected. And here's a tip, deselect all if you don't want all sessions. Okay, so the campus type parameter, it gives you three choices. The first choice is for campus, which is Tempe West Polytechnic in downtown. Then another choice is locations, which is all other immersion locations, or online. which includes students in ASU online managed and other online plans that are college managed. And then the campus and location allows you to further customize the campuses you select. And the values available will change depending on the campus type you've selected. So the college allows you to select one college. If the college that you've selected has divisions, you will see values under the division parameter to select. And note that both of these parameters allow for only selecting one value. All does count as one value in this context. For the department parameter, there must be one college selected. And if the college does have divisions, there needs to be one division selected for the department values to be available to select. Then if a single department is selected other than the all selection, the major parameter will have values available to select from by degree and major. You can select multiple degrees and majors. And then again, after making your parameter selections, click on View Report. So depending on the parameters you've selected, the report will display with different groupings. So if you select multiple campuses without customizing any of the other parameters, notice they're all listed as all, it will display a view by the campus of the student's major. Selecting a single campus will provide a view by the college of the student's major for that campus. For those of you who are familiar with Report Builder, note that this report contains several different pivot tables. So depending on the parameter selected, a different pivot will display. So if you're interested in learning more about these reports behind the scenes, I would encourage you to attend tomorrow's session called Enrollment Tracking: The Secret Ingredients. Selecting a single college will provide a view by the department of the student's major. And then selecting a college with a division and all divisions will provide a view by the division of the student's major. And selecting a single department will provide a view by the student's major. Now, if you select a single major, the report will group by subplans if the major has subplans. So here on the left, you can see the different subplans. If the major has no subplans, it will show as no subplan, like the picture on the right here. So after writing the report, you can download it to any of the formats shown. Excel is recommended. Note that the class funding reports here will have fewer parameters. If you're interested, please review the details for each report. And then if you want to work with this data on your own and create your own report based on the same data, you can use the enrollment tracking data set here. And then this information session here on this link here covers how to do that, along with even more information about the enrollment tracking reports. Okay, so if you want more information on enrollment tracking, here are some additional resources. So tomorrow's data conference presentations, as mentioned previously, the results are best used when downloaded to Excel. So I'd encourage you to check out It's Time to Excel tomorrow from 9:10 to 10:30. That'll give you an in-depth and hands-on training on Excel wizardry. Or if you'd like a deep dive into the Alteryx workflow that is the basis of these enrollment tracking reports that we've covered here, you can hop on over to Enrollment Tracking: The Secret Ingredients, also tomorrow from 9:10 to 9:50. And then, as mentioned before, the information session on enrollment tracking on July 28th, which is linked on the enrollment tracking website, is part of a larger session on analytics as a whole. And that information, the information from this session here, is also covered there, along with a lot more about other reports within the enrollment tracking and records group on analytics. And as I mentioned before, feel free to reach out to us at urtech@asu.edu. And that concludes the presentation. So thank you very much for attending. And if there are any questions, I think we have, well, I think we're actually at time.